Guys, welcome back to the channel. Here we are with another reaction. In this, we have everyday things I see in Dutch neighborhoods that I never saw in America. Before we dive in, if you guys happen to enjoy, please don't forget to smash subscribe, get a video a thumbs up, and let's get right to it.
Dutch neighborhoods are different, and in this video I want to talk about some of the biggest differences between Dutch neighborhoods and American neighborhoods.
Talk to me.
The first of which being the prevalence of townhomes. So here in the Netherlands, something that I've noticed is that most houses are townhomes. For example, you can see these houses right here are townhomes. Those houses over there are also townhomes. If you don't know what a townhome is basically a house that is connected to other houses. So it's kind of like a condominium, it's kind of like a house, just somewhere in between. But if you walk inside, it is a house. Generally, they have multiple floors, just like a regular house. But again, the walls are all connected. This person's pulling into the driveway. This is kind of awkward. But generally, most of the houses here are going to be townhomes, and I mean, the reason why is pretty obvious. There's just less space on which to build out here. Therefore, they have to be much more efficient with their space. Now, for reference, I come from the DFW area, Dallas-Fort Worth area that is. And
big city.
There were townhomes back in the DFW area, but they're definitely pretty rare. I would say they're much less common than single family homes, which we will see some single family homes here in about a minute or so. But as we go throughout this video, you'll notice that most of the houses in this particular neighborhood are townhomes. And really, to be honest, this neighborhood is a pretty good representation of what most Dutch neighborhoods that I've seen at least look like.
Got you.
Now, like I said, we're about to see some single family homes, and that brings me to the next.
I feel like, I have seen townhomes, but they're just not as big here. I mean, I feel like we kind of stay in a townhome right now in a sense of the things that we got neighbors on both sides of us. It's all like together, but like the thing that separates us is like we have a garage in between us. So it's not like our wall is like right there next, like we can hear what they're doing over there. No, they got a garage and then their place. Saying we're in the middle. On the left, I got a garage, then their place. Or we got a garage in their place. We got a garage in their garage, in their place. And then they got a garage, then their place on this side. So you don't really, we're connected in a sense, but not too connected to where we can still be pretty loud without our neighbors knowing what's going on, if that makes sense. But townhomes, I feel like Dutch, the Netherlands is a lot smaller than America. So things are more condensed. So you have less area to build on. You got to be as efficient as possible within that area.
Observation about Dutch neighborhoods in comparison to American neighborhoods, and that is the variety of different housing types, and also the variety in different types of architecture within the same neighborhood. Okay. So again, as we go throughout this video, you're gonna see in the background, because I have this GoPro with the wide angle lens. Okay, you love to see it. I invested in it just so that you can see more of the background of my videos. But that's besides the point. You're gonna see that not all of the houses look the same. Not all of the townhomes look the same. Of course, when there's a row of townhomes, they'll probably look very, very similar to one another. But I feel that. You can see right up here, we have some single family homes. And that right there looks completely different from what you saw at the beginning of the video. With the townhomes. And over there even, you have a row of townhomes, but they're not all the same color. You don't really see that too much in Dallas. In Dallas, most of the newer developments follow what is known as a cookie cutter building pattern. I don't know if that's the right way to describe it, but basically what they do is they have a few different floor plans, and they pretty much duplicate the same house over and over and over again, or the same few houses over and over and over again within a neighborhood. and maybe change the color, maybe not.
Agreed.
A lot of
Agreed.
times when you go through a neighborhood in Dallas, especially a newer one, the houses are going to look more or less the same. You're never really going to see a whole lot of variety within a specific neighborhood.
Yeah.
And if you try to make your house different from other houses, especially once again in the newer neighborhoods, they have this thing called homeowners association,
Yep, HOA.
which will
And not
promptly
having
put
it.
an end to your dreams of
Yes.
standing out. Which is kind of ironic because the US is known for having a more individualistic culture,
Yes.
whereas Europe and the Netherlands as well are known for having more of a collectivist culture, but different discussion for a different day.
To me, it's just insane that you can freaking like own your house, but yet still be accountable to the homeowners association, so where you can't do what you want to do with your house, far as painting it, decorating it, doing whatever you want to the house. There's still guidelines and rules that you have to follow in that neighborhood, but it's like you own your house. Now I understand the HOA when it comes to like maybe somebody just letting their yard get ridiculously out of control and it just looks terrible in the neighborhood. And something needs to be done about it. But for like painting your house or wanting to do something on the outside, I just feel like the HOA really shouldn't be able to stop you from doing so.
You can see those houses look completely different from those houses, look completely different from those houses, and then the single family homes. As a matter of fact, we're gonna walk back that way so that you can see more of the single family homes. And again, that's something that you'll never really see back home. Townhomes and single family homes and even apartments in the same neighborhood. And I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong if you know more about this than I do, but I'm pretty sure that the zoning laws literally outlaw that sort of building pattern. So in other words, in the US, I don't think you can legally build an apartment complex within a neighborhood full of houses. I'm pretty sure you're not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
But I think that is really nice to see a good variety of not only architecture, but economic class. Okay, like I said earlier, you have single family homes and townhomes as well as apartments in the same neighborhood, but you can tell that at least within this neighborhood, which again I believe is a pretty good representation of a lot of Dutch neighborhoods, at least the ones that I've been to, you can tell that not everyone is at the same income level, at the same tax bracket, or working the same kinds of jobs. There are definitely some blue collar workers within this neighborhood, definitely some white collar workers, but you see right there, you have a nice house, Porsche outside,
nice car. Oh my
and then you have also nice houses, but a little bit smaller, but literally right across the street from one another. You just don't really see that back home. And again, disclaimer, I'm from Dallas. Maybe if you're from Boston, if you're from New York, that might be more common. Maybe the zoning laws are different. But where I'm from, you'll pretty much never see a house like that in the same neighborhood, or really maybe even in the same vicinity as an apartment complex. And again, I think this is good. I think it's good to allow the different socioeconomic classes to intermingle with one another.
Agreed.
And sort of alleviate some of the classism that would otherwise be much, much worse than it already is. Now, on the topic of houses,
I feel like that's amazing to me because, like you said, in a sense, you're mixing so much people of different financial levels, right? Of economic levels, and you're having a mixing of it where you're not just separating, oh, the rich live here, middle class live here, poor live here because this is what you can afford. We're not going to put apartment buildings with nice houses. We're going to separate them. And so that's really the model in the U.S. Again, I know the Netherlands is smaller, so more condensed. You got to do everything you can with the area that you have. But I feel like that would be cool for the U.S. to take into account, just like mixing different socioeconomic levels in the same neighborhood and kind of seeing how that goes. Don't think it'll happen, but I think it'd be interesting.
Another thing that I've noticed about Dutch neighborhoods that I never really saw back home is that very few homes here have garages. And the
Mm,
ones that do have
I
garages
like my
tend
garage.
to have one-car garages. You can see
Yeah.
some of the houses right here. These are big houses, okay? These are big houses by Dutch standards, maybe not by Dallas standards. I don't want to record inside of people's houses, but you can see that a lot of these houses have one-car garages at best. Back home, I think that was literally illegal. Again, I don't think that you're actually allowed to build new development without a garage. I don't think I've ever
Really?
seen a home in Dallas that was built after the 1950s
Without a garage?
that didn't have a two-car garage. I don't think I've
Oh,
ever seen that
God
before
dang.
until I came here, especially these larger houses. That's just not something that you see. So you might be wondering, well, where do the people park? Well, when you have a driveway like this, you can park in the driveway,
There you go.
but a lot of houses actually don't have driveways either,
Parking on the street
especially
in
the
front.
townhomes. I mean, you can see over there, where's the driveway? There is none. So where do they park? Well, they park on the street,
I'll take
as you
it.
can see. There's a lot more
Yeah.
street parking out here, but also leads me into the next thing that I see in Dutch neighborhoods that I never saw back home.
I'm sure I didn't know that about, like, and I lived in Dallas for a little bit, but I never thought about it. Like he said, houses ain't being built without a two-car garage. And Dallas is a big city, is a city with a ton of money. Um, but Jesus, with two-car garage, yeah, Dallas got cash out there.
And that is that Dutch neighborhoods tend to have parking lots. So this right here kind of threw me for a loop because that's something I
The
never saw back
neighborhoods
home,
have a parking lot.
not even on occasion, was that
All everything.
here you will have houses, and I'm going to try to find a way to walk around so that I can show you a good example of this, but you'll basically have neighborhoods with houses and townhomes, but they'll have parking lots. A parking lot as you would see outside of a store or maybe at an apartment complex. You'll see that outside of the houses and townhomes. That was very, very strange to me when I first saw it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it works. There's ample parking, at least in this neighborhood. Maybe in the bigger cities it's a little bit different, but in this neighborhood there's ample parking for everyone. Maybe you have to park a little further than you'd like from your house sometimes, especially if you get back kind of late, but you're never going to be without a parking spot in a neighborhood like this one. And this is probably about as suburban as it's going to get in the Netherlands, as far as just having a stretch of land with primarily houses. There's still grocery stores and other things within walking distance, but
Very nice.
generally speaking, this is the closest that you're going to get to that traditional American cookie cutter kind of vibe
I feel that.
that was the norm for me back home. But another thing,
I feel
as
like in
I
a sense I do enjoy some. There are some perks and benefits to the American cookie cutter vibe, just in the sense of like I'm looking at a lot of these houses and they don't really have a big front yard or a big backyard, and that's one thing like I do want to have. Just a nice yard. That's for my son. He can go out, play out back, play out front, whatever he wants to do. And just stay in the yard. Where I guess in the Netherlands it's a lot safer than the U.S. So you can let your kids ride bikes and go hang out with your friends. I'm sure there's spaces for them to go hang out, but the U.S. ain't as safe. So while he's young, like it's nice to just have the yard there for him to play in. Put a little playground, put a little basketball goal out front.
walk to this parking lot so that I can show you what I'm talking about, another thing that I've noticed in Dutch neighborhoods that I never saw back home, especially in Dallas, are bike lanes. Okay, you can see I'm walking on a bike lane right now, and this right here is very, very typical of Dutch neighborhoods. As a matter of fact, I don't think I've seen a Dutch neighborhood that lacked a bike lane, at least not to this point. And this right here is probably the single greatest game changer. Hold on real quick. Let's just go back to what I was saying about the variety in architecture. Okay, those houses, the townhomes, look completely different from those houses, the single family homes. They all look completely different from one another.
Facts. I do
But
agree with
anyways,
that.
bike lanes.
Okay.
here, bike lanes are the norm, and
Yes.
I know I've beat this topic to death throughout my recent videos, but that is for good reason, okay? It still blows my mind, not that I can bike everywhere here in the Netherlands,
Yeah.
but that I can't bike anywhere back home in Dallas. It
Mm,
blows my mind that
I
that's
feel
not
that.
even a possibility most of the time,
It's
because
not.
not only are there not bike lanes, but a lot of times you can't even really bike on the sidewalk because the sidewalk will just end. A lot of times you can't
Yeah.
even walk anywhere,
Yeah.
which, by the way, brings me to the next thing that I see.
Yeah, I do think it's dope to have those bike lanes there in the Netherlands. I think the infrastructure there is amazing. You can get around without a car. You got great public transport. You got the separated biking lanes. You got streets where you cars and bikes can share. You got pedestrians able to walk any and everywhere. So you got all these great benefits in the U.S. The land built for cars. So literally to survive here, a car is a necessity.
In Dutch neighborhoods that I didn't really see back home very frequently, and that is pedestrians walking through
Hmm.
the neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Now, part of the reason why there are a lot more pedestrians here, and right now you're not going to see a whole lot because, for one, it is freezing cold out here,
Oof.
freezing cold. But also, I tend to avoid high traffic areas when I make these videos because,
Smart.
little
Noise.
secret between you and me, I have social anxiety. I don't like to film in public. It draws a lot of attention, and I
Same
don't really
here.
like attention that
Same.
much. Okay, even after
Same here.
filming all of these videos that I filmed, after getting to 100,000 subscribers, I don't really like attention, but
Mm-mm.
again, different discussion for a different day. You see a lot more pedestrians walking around the neighborhoods, and one of the reasons why this is because when you have a dog here in the Netherlands, you more often than not will not have a grass backyard. Okay, a lot of the houses here do not have grass yards in the same way that the houses in Dallas would. As a matter of fact,
See,
once
that's what I
again,
mean.
I don't think it's legal to even have a house without a yard in Dallas unless it's a townhome.
That's what I
I think that the
mean.
zoning laws prohibit that from happening. But here, very few people will have grass yards. You'll have a yard, maybe,
Okay. It's
but
just
you won't have a
lazy.
grass yard more often than not.
I don't
And
necessarily
so the
need it to
only
be
way that your
grass. I just need the yard.
dog can relieve his or herself is, well, you have to take them for a walk. So you see a lot of people walking their dogs at all hours of the day.
That's nice.
And I mean, if you like dogs, then hey, this is a great place to be because a lot of people here have dogs. But also, you'll just see people walking for leisure. Some people walk to go to the grocery store and whatnot.
Yeah.
But really, most of the people that I see walking, they're probably out walking with their family members, and they don't really look like they have a destination in mind. They are just walking at a very
Going on
leisurely
a walk.
pace, kind of like I'm doing right now. I don't have a destination in mind. I'm just showing you what I'm talking about. And yeah, people here, they love to walk. And I see why. I mean, when you have a neighborhood that's this interesting,
Yeah.
maybe Dutch
I'm
people
not.
might not find this neighborhood all that interesting, but as an American, this is a very interesting neighborhood just off the aesthetic alone.
That's the
When
different
you have a
types of
neighborhood that's this
buildings.
interesting, of course, walking is going to be a much more pleasant experience. And also something I've noticed is that when a neighborhood is more dense, walking is much more pleasant because distance, your perception of distance changes. So you can see everything is built up. It's a very dense neighborhood.
Yeah.
And mind you, if I were to walk probably 5 or so minutes in that direction, or I think that direction, I'll literally be at a farm. Okay, so it doesn't take that long
That's crazy.
to go to a completely
wild.
desolate area.
Yeah.
But when you're in the neighborhoods, when you're in the thick of it, it's very dense. It's a very dense environment. And again, it makes walking much more pleasurable. But back home, again, a lot of times the sidewalks will literally just end, okay, with no
That's
warning, no
insane.
sign, no nothing.
But that
And
is
you either have to
true.
walk on the grass, which may or may not be possible, or you have to go out into the street
Yep.
and walk in the street with cars going
Yep.
40 miles an hour. It's probably what, 50, 55 kilometers an hour. And if you like, well, living, then
You
you
like
just don't do
it.
that.
Nah, he's absolutely freaking spot on. Sidewalks do just randomly end like it to get around. You need a car. You can't just walk, even if you wanted to walk, even if you didn't mind the distances that things are from each other. You can't, safety reasons. Yeah, and it's just a country built for cars and only cars. It feels like.
Now, another thing that I've noticed about Dutch neighborhoods that I never really saw back home is mail slots.
Mm.
What do I mean by mail slots? Well, if you haven't noticed, up to this point in the video, there are no mailboxes here. There
I
are
didn't
no
even think about
mailboxes,
that.
maybe in other neighborhoods, but not in
I
this
didn't
one,
even think
not in
about
anyone
that.
that I've been to. There are no mailboxes. Oh, well, I literally just said that, and then there's a mailbox right there. I think that's a mailbox. That's the first mailbox I've ever seen in the Netherlands. And
Wow.
I don't know why they're the only house with a mailbox. Again, that sort
They
of thing
wanted
wouldn't
their
be possible back
mailbox.
home with the homeowners association. But most houses here will have a mail slot in the door that the mailman can simply walk up to and put
Slot
the
away.
mail in. And I imagine this would probably be really, really inconvenient for the mailman, because then he has to get out of his car, his truck,
Yeah.
whatever, and
All the
walk
way to the
up to
door.
the door
Yep.
and put the mail into each individual door. I don't want to record inside people's houses, but you can see that door right there, for example, has that mail slot. It's probably really inconvenient for the mailman,
I
whereas
would
back
assume
home,
so.
he would just drive around in the truck, go up to the mailbox, put the mail in. But for the homeowners, I would say it's much more convenient because they don't have to go out in the cold and the rain. They get the mail delivered directly to them in the safety, security, and warmth of their home.
That is absolutely nice. Uh, Absolutely nice. Y'all talk to me in the comment section. If you enjoyed, please don't forget to smash subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, check out the next. I'll see y'all next time.